Hello and welcome to the Aftershock post-game show. My name is Alex Morgan. I'm here with Jamon Moore after the San Jose Earthquakes 2-0 loss to the Portland Timbers at Providence Park. Jamon Moore, you were there live to take in the atmosphere. What are your takeaways from this one? Walk us through what you saw.
Well, the whole thing just started off by feeling a bit strange. The process around the League's Cup feels more like a CONCACAF match. And there's a lot of confusion about, when was the game going to start? Because there was an FS1 broadcast, and some people thought it was going to start at 7:30. Some people thought it would start more 7:08. 7:08 was right. The national anthem was sung with no one else on the pitch. Then the players walked out. Then there was a speech by a player from each team, which I could not even hear, but I think was telling the fans to make sure that they behave themselves. And then we started playing soccer, and the soccer from the Earthquake side was good. It was good to start the game, and then it wasn't good, namely once Jack Skane left the field with an injury. And in the middle, about the middle of the second half, the Quakes kind of picked it back up again. But once Christian Espinoza, had to leave with maybe a knock or maybe as a precautionary measure, it went bad again. And so, it just felt like these goals kind of happened and, when the Quakes were transitioning from, who they had on the pitch into a new setup. And then all of a sudden things went bad. There were good moments, unfortunately, just really not goal dangerous. And you definitely felt you wanting to see more shots, more danger in the box tonight. And didn't really get that.
Well, I was worried, Jamon, that it wouldn't feel like a CONCACAF game because it was two MLS teams playing against each other. The Quakes wouldn't get to experience the full, League's Cup offer that Major League Soccer is making. But I'm glad that there were some CONCACAF vibes in the pre-match situation at Providence Park. Hopefully next weekend when the San Jose Earthquakes play Tigres at home at PayPal Park, we'll be able to experience some more of that live in San Jose. With that said,
more weirdness coming, by the way. The press conference tonight has to be done on Zoom. I believe we're going to do our best to bring that to everyone. We've been playing with it, and we think we can bring that press conference, but we're only going to get Luchi, and then the press conference will continue, and then it'll be Gio Savarese, the coach of the Portland Timbers. The only way to talk to players is through kind of a mix zone, another CONCACAF thing. And because we're here and not down there, we will not be able to share the mix zone, but we'll look forward to getting some potential quotes after the game.
And I, in my ear this whole time, Jamon, have been hearing the Portland Timbers press person announcing the sequence of events there at Providence Park. So, yeah, we're getting the CONCACAF, the full CONCACAF experience here behind the scenes. But it did feel like there were some weird things going on throughout the game, Jamon. A couple of injuries, Jack Skane going down, as you mentioned, Christian Espinoza going down. Maybe this is just regular run of business in Portland. Maybe this is what they're used to every week with that turf. Is that right, Jamon?
The turf monster struck the Quakes 3 times tonight. Jeremy Abobasi also looked a bit almost like he hyperextended a knee, but stayed in the game. I think maybe less effective than usual as a result. And I think one of the key questions, normally if this was a league game, you'd be probably asking all the tactical questions and things like that. But I think tonight what's kind of important is it's important to know, how is Christian Espinoza doing? How is Jeremy Abobasi doing? And how is Jack Skane looking? Because quite honestly, this attack has really looked potent when Jack Skane has been in it. And without him, it's looked a lot less potent. I think one of the differences is the way that he's able to kind of run at the back line a bit. And when Nico Shakiris came in the game, there's a lot to like about Nico. But one thing he is not is kind of a straight downhill runner with the ball. He's looking to kind of distribute and pass. And so he just kind of stayed back deeper. Well, when you already have a double pivot and now your 10 who's supposed to be higher is kind of back near your double pivot, the tack, look, Jeremy Abobasi was like 1v6, a bunch of the times that he touched the ball, in the attacking half tonight. Like there was just nothing to support him. And really nothing to kind of get that attack going once Kane left the game.
This felt like two different games to me, Jamon. There was the game when Jack Skane was on the field, and then there was the game when Jack Skane was not on the field. And when
it's wild. We are all talking about Jack Skane in the chat as if like a number one DP has gone down and left the game. It's wild what's happened over the last few weeks.
It's completely reasonable to say that he was the best player on the field in that first half an hour when he was out there.
100%.
Had multiple nice balls in behind. He had good runs. His energy was high. He was the one pushing the tempo. He was the one getting chances. And when he went off the field, the Quakes weren't able to do that. They weren't able to push the ball into the final third. They weren't able to distribute the ball. They weren't able to put Portland on the back foot. It felt like he was the linchpin in that midfield. And that's a role he's had this entire month of July for the Earthquakes since that California Classico game where he came on and he scored a goal, and now he's been the guy for them in the midfield. And we were talking, Jamon, in the Quakes Epicenter patron Slack, and we were looking for a kind of comparison, a player who plays like Jack Skane. And our dear friend and occasional Aftershock host, Asher Cohn, said that Jack Skane is playing like prime Landon Donovan right now, who's a high energy number 10, who is really, raising the level from that number 10 position. And I kind of bought that comparison. That feels pretty apt, does it not?
If he's healthy, I would keep rolling him out there. I mean, there's a lot that Jamiro Montero is, but what he is not is what Jack Skane is. And, again, Jamiro is a very good player, MVP, I think we all agreed of last season, such as it was, of this team. But, this team is lacking that center attacking player who's going to push the back line and really kind of force them to ask questions. And it's just something that Jack Skane has done, whether he's played at the 10, whether he's played on the wing. It's something that he has been able to bring, and it was missing. As soon as he left the pitch, that was missing. And they tried to change things a bit by bringing Cade a bit more central at times to try to try to bring that. But, that has its own kind of knock-on effects. And so what did that do? Well, it pushed Shakiris out wide, and you push Shakiris out wide. Now it opened up the midfield for Portland to be able to control the game better. Looks like they're talking about maybe getting this started, Alex. I'm not quite sure here, but we're hearing they said very shortly we'll talk to Luchi Gonzalez, it sounds like.
That's what I'm hearing as well, Jamon. So I'm preparing us to go live to that.
I almost feel like I'm just nervous about this Zoom thing. So I don't know if you want to bring this up, and we'll just go side window, and that way we'll be able to know, it's a little bit out of norm here, but I'm just kind of nervous about it.
That's right. We had a week of vacation, Jamon, and we have to brush off some of the rest here. Jamon, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you was what you thought of this Cade Cowell performance, because this was the first time we'd seen Cade Cowell play for the Earthquakes in a few months, basically. He went to the U20 World Cup with the U.S. men's national team and played phenomenally there, was one of the best players of the tournament. Then he went almost straight to the Gold Cup with the U.S. men's national team and got solid minutes, scored his first, I think, goal for the senior men's national team, and looked good. Now coming back to San Jose, he was slotted straight back into the starting lineup on that left wing. He was pushing the tempo on that left side. But Cade Cowell playing for the Quakes just doesn't look like the same player playing for the national team. You see the promise, you see him getting in behind, but the end product isn't there. And even though he was making some nice passes and getting on the ball in dangerous areas, there was still a sense that he's not able to bring that next step, which he is able to with the men's national team.
Yeah, think about that goal that he scored for the national team. What is it you saw in that goal that you did not see tonight? There's a word that is in my head. I want to see if you and I will think of the same word here.
Well, this is an interesting question, Jamon, because I think that kind of goal is not something that we see Cade Cowell do ever for the San Jose Earthquakes. We don't see Cade Cowell playing centrally enough to be chasing those balls. We don't see him getting in behind, one-on-one situations like that.
Well, he had a one-on-one situation tonight.
On the left side, though, we don't see him actually beating defenders and getting one-on-one with the keeper. And when he does, he's not able to put them away. So I feel like the role he plays for the men's national team is very different than the role he's playing for San Jose right now, which is why I feel like it's hard to make that comparison, Jamon. I'm curious what the one word you think is.
Composure. When he scored that goal, where he basically was able to dribble around the keeper, he was composed. He was under control, poise. I like that too. He had that poise. He had that composure to read the situation, understand it. Tonight, he's back to just running fast at the box. And I felt like he was completely out of control in those situations. There's one time he got to the end line where he put in a left-footed cutback that was cleared out. Other than that, I felt like almost every single time he got into the box tonight, he was just like trying stuff, or he was just running so hard that, he had no control over his movements. And the thing that is keeping Cade from being, I think, an elite level player and a player that we can look at and say, yes, he belongs in Europe, is that poise, that kind of, confidence. I think those words are good words. I think it's that composure was the word I was thinking of. Those are the things that Cade really needs to do in order to change that athleticism that he's got, that speed that he's got, that ability to kind of take on players 1v1. And he had opportunities tonight. There was a lot of 1v1 on Cade where he had the chance to run, but he would get out of control. He would not have that composure. And that was what really kind of hurt him tonight. You get a composed Cade Cowell in the box, and I think we would be seeing a very different set of outcomes from Cade, one of which tonight potentially could have ended up in the back of the net.
And so my question then, Jamon, is he going to achieve that growth in San Jose, or is he better off going elsewhere to develop those skills and make that happen? Because we've seen him play with that composure, that poise for the U.S. men's national team, which tells me that he's capable of it, which tells me that when he's put in the right spots, when he has the right environment, he can get there. But we don't see that week in, week out with San Jose. Does that mean that now is the right time for him to make the jump to Europe, make the jump to the Eredivisie or a second-tier European team, try his luck there and see if in that different environment and different level, he can make that next step?
It's a fair question. And I think it looks like Luchi is joining us now. So, Alex, I'm going to give you the control to run it here. Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us in the Leagues Cup 2023 post-game press conference for the San Jose Earthquakes and the Portland Timbers at Providence Park. We'd like to welcome San Jose Earthquakes head coach Luchi Gonzalez. We will have members of the press on site, and we will be beginning with their questions before we move into Zoom questions as well. Once we wrap up the in-person questions, we will please be asking our Zoom participants to raise their hands. And we will let you know when you will be able to unmute and ask your question live to the press room. That being said, let's begin here with our on-site media questions.
Hi, Coach. Ryan Clark with the Oregonian. Just wanted to get your thoughts overall on the match and what you think ended up being some of the big differences that led to the result.
Look, I think it's a tough sensation when you did a lot of good things. We got good pressure on the ball. We created offensive transition. I mean, we got 20 crosses versus their 5, and to me, it showed volume, right? We got volume of it, progressing the ball, playing in their half, attacking the box. And I'm happy with that aspect. But what's disappointing is, the last action, getting the shot off, right? Connecting the cross with the runner. Did we have the right change of speed? Did we have the right last combination or unpredictability? Just is like a killer instinct that we have all the potential to execute, and we have, and at home we definitely do. But away, you have to just have that extra, and we were lacking that. We didn't get on the score sheet, even though, we created in terms of volume, XG, shots and crosses, but we got to put the shot on target. We got to get the shot off. We need to put it away, and even the shot that didn't happen, the few little, Jack's touch in, like his control with that great running behind and ball behind. Jabo the same. Like, we just get that first touch right, that's going one-on-one with a goalkeeper, and I believe our guys will bury it. So, it's something that I know we can focus on better, and we can train, and I have all the belief and confidence in our group to improve that. And especially when you're playing away, like a place like this, you gotta put away your chances. So credit to Portland, they put away theirs. I mean, their first goal was a high level goal. You cannot leave, that level player open top of the box. And it's just a good finish. So, and then the last one was just, a flick, and Portland's very good in these offensive transition moments. They have speed and verticality. So, look, credit to them. I'm very disappointed with the no call, the PK. It's a PK. It's a handball, and I would argue in the box, not even on the line, like in the box. And that's unacceptable. The VAR, not even to let the ref go see it. That's unacceptable. That's really poor refereeing today, because that's a PK. And 2-1 is a big difference because of goal differential. And that they need to be better. It's not up in the booth, and VAR is not good enough. That needs to be much better. At least let the ref go look at it and make his call. He's the ref. So I'm really disappointed with that. And our players are disappointed with that. So that, that's tough. That we gotta obviously accept that, see what happens Wednesday. And no matter what happens, we're gonna be focused on getting a result against Tigres, and playing in front of our fans in our stadium, and moving on and improving the things that I just discussed.
Right. And, this result obviously makes it more difficult to advance out of the group, just given the points, given the goal differential. How should the group, I guess, reset its mind ahead of that Tigres game, knowing that a win in regulation is probably the most likely outcome to advance?
Yeah, and that's fine as long as it's clear. Nothing is impossible. This is a sport that you see Champions League, legs, first leg, second leg, things can seem like they're going away and they completely change in a game or in a moment. You see that in the leagues and, championship playoffs, League One playoffs. In England, you see these crazy, aggregates that one was one way, one was another. I know this is a group stage. You see crazy things in the group stage as well in the World Cup. There's examples there. So we'll find some references. We'll rest now, and we'll be ready to rebuild and see what happens Wednesday. And no matter what, it's not impossible to qualify. So we're going to keep believing, and we have the team to get it done.
Okay. Yeah. Jamon, let's go ahead with your question first, please.
Hey, Luchi. Good to talk to you. I'm actually in the stadium right now, but running the Aftershock show up in the press box. Felt like, you had a really good start to the game. Jack Skane again bringing a good bit of energy for you. Very concerning that he left early, and it did feel like there was a momentum shift after that. Can you give an update on him and what you know so far about his injury and why he needed to leave early, as well as any updates on Ibobisi? Looked like he was had a knee issue there for a bit and shook it off and kept playing, but then Espinoza, leaving toward the end of the game. Can you just provide an update on the players and their potential availability for the Tigres game?
Sure. Yeah. Like you said, Jack was doing really well. And he has done well consistently in the games and the opportunities he's been earning. So he went down, he felt something in his hamstring, couldn't continue. He's a player with speed, verticality. And so that hurt us. Right. But a young Nico is a different kind of profile, but he does play in that attacking mid role or 8-10 role. And I thought he did a lot of good things in terms of possession and connecting the game, and link play. So yeah, look, Jack, we're going to miss. Hopefully he's not out too long. Probably definitely out for the next period. And hopefully he's back for MLS when he or in a League Cup run later on. So Regarding Christian felt like a cramp sensations. Hopefully that's nothing serious. And then Jabo got through the game. He should be okay. Again, nothing's final. We got to connect with the medical crew and see if those situations are okay.
Thank you, Jamon. Alex Morgan, please go ahead and ask your question.
Hey, Luchi. Thanks for speaking with us tonight. After Jack Skane went off, it looked like there was a little something missing in the midfield. So I'm curious, what your message was at halftime and how you felt about the way the team adjusted mid-game. Portland started that second half really strong. We're putting you guys on the back foot, and it felt like you guys were never really able to recover that momentum that you had maybe in the first 20 minutes. So, I'm curious what, the decisions you were making throughout the game were and what you think was maybe missing in that second half.
Well, I would say half my decisions were unfortunately having to be reactions to guys going down with cramp or, some scares. And then Jack, we're already limited with the sub rule for this tournament. If you make a halftime sub, it counts as one of your 3 moments for this tournament. So then we're making a first half sub. So that's not ideal. But yeah, look, I said it earlier, Jack was giving us verticality, and he's a player that's really dangerous in the midfield between the lines and running in behind. Wide, he has a lot of range. Nico gives you the other things that are really positive too, but I would say we were maybe less vertical. We at half talked about Christian connecting, attaching closer to the center back, Zuparic, to run in behind and give problems. I thought he did do that and create 2 versus 1 with a capo. But we lack maybe some quality of that last action in that last moment with Christian and a capo. And then Cade, right? Cade creating isolations, one-on-one, and trying to drive against Mosquera, driving inside, looking for combinations. I thought Cade did some electric things. We also spoke about him. Like, if you're not gonna have Jack or Nico able to run in behind, like, Cade's got to have the verticality. Jabo's got to give us verticality. So, I think we can balance that better. But look, that's what you lose when Jack's not on the field in that attacking mid role, and that's the reality of it. But I thought the effort was good by the guys, and they tried to do what they can do best, and we'll revisit what we can do better. I can do better as a coach to tactically set things up so we could have been more dangerous. And look, them having the momentum early, the first half or second half, I agree. It didn't last longer than 7, 8, 10 minutes. I thought we got control back of the game with possession and getting our volume in the attack. But yes, they were very dangerous early in the second half. We adjusted and got back into the game. And look, that last goal is a transition moment, and it happens. This is a good team with speed up top, Portland, and they punished us in that open play in that transition moment.
Thank you, Alex. We'll be moving into our last question from John. Please go ahead and ask your question, John.
Thank you. Luchi, you mentioned, as you said, you had 20 crosses, so you were giving yourselves opportunities. You did have some good chances, but as you said, especially one of the things being the speed of the runs. What do you think are some of the adjustments that you can make maybe in the final third going into the game against Monterrey that'll allow you to be more successful when you do create all of those chances?
Yeah, look, video is going to help. This is an opportunity to just maybe not even show a lot of the buildup or the defensive shapes. It's a video analysis moment of like, hey, look at this volume. That's positive. Now, how do we get on the end of these? What's the decision on the ball? What are the numbers in the box like? What spaces are we attacking with what speeds? And really dissect that, get into the details, and work on it. One of our biggest values is development. And we want to every day get better. And this is an opportunity to get better. I think video is going to help us. And ownership too. Ownership. We just came out of the locker room where we accept that we have to have stronger actions and more belief in the box and near the box, get shots and to get on the end of things that could ricochet. It could be a second phase, a rebound, goals. And that's not just front attacking players. This is on a set piece, a center back, a mid. This is everybody's responsibility. It's all of us.
Thank you. And with that being the last question, we want to thank Coach Luchi Gonzalez for his time. Shortly, we will continue with the Portland Timbers head coach. Thank you very much. We'll be back shortly.
Thank you. Good night.
And there you hear from San Jose Earthquakes head coach Luchi Gonzalez, rejoined here by Jamon Moore, live from Providence Park. Jamon, we heard a couple things from Luchi Gonzalez that we haven't necessarily heard before. That was the first time I can recall Luchi Gonzalez ever berating a referee or a refereeing decision like that. Does that indicate some underlying frustration with the way you think this game played out? Because on the Aftershock here, we don't like to talk about the refs. We know that if you're talking about the refs, that means that something else is going wrong. It's a misdirection of frustration here. Is that what you felt about Luchi Gonzalez's comments?
Sort of. So let's also be clear, they're not pro referees. And so he's probably a little bit more free to criticize because he doesn't have to maintain relationships with these officials. And also the chance that, he's going to get some sort of fine by the league for criticizing officials is going to be a bit different situation.
This is just pent up frustration that he finally gets to let loose. This is his one opportunity. He needs to take it.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of it. So, but I also think he might be picking on the wrong situation. I think that there was a little bit more in the Cade Cowell box. Now, from my perspective, I think Cade was going down and looking for contact, and I think that's probably, what VAR also saw. But if you're going to ask an official to go to the monitor for something, doesn't it feel like a potential dogso situation and a potential penalty is the one that you would really be asking for? Maybe just in the moment he was a little bit, thinking of the more recent thing. But for me, of the two, I would have probably picked the Cade situation to harp on a little bit stronger. Why? Well, because, if it's a penalty and it's a dogso, then, the Quakes not only have a chance to tie the game 1-1 at that point, but they can go a man up for the remaining, I think, 25, 30 minutes. I can't remember exactly when that shout happened. But, if I'm going to pick on something, I would pick on that. I don't think it was a clear penalty, but, I think that you could potentially sway an official in the moment to look at the monitor and call that a penalty and give a dogso for it.
I think that's absolutely right. I understand the frustration.
He was actually pulled back by the arm as well a little bit earlier in the phase, which would have been potentially more the dogso and not the penalty. That was outside the box at the time, but you clearly are going to prefer to get the penalty if you can get it.
The issue here, Jamon, is that Cade Cowell is built like a bull, so nobody believes it when he gets pulled down in the box like that because he's usually the one bulldozing other people. And I understand the frustration with that call. I don't understand the frustration with the other call because, one, I don't even think it's in the box. I don't think they have the angle to definitively say it's in the box.
That to me was the issue. They didn't have the right angle on that to be able to definitively, overturn.
And also, Jamon, that was
not clear and obvious.
That was in the 92nd minute. There was no time left for the San Jose Earthquakes at that point to mount a comeback. But he mentioned why. He mentioned the goal differential, and that's what he was looking for was, hey, can we get out of here with a 2-1? Because that might be very important to determining, who goes out of the group, right? So here's the thing. I don't know if the San Jose Earthquakes fans even care about that goal differential anymore. This is kind of a bigger picture question that I have about this game. Is this kind of it for the Leagues Cup? Is it a one and done for the Earthquakes? Is it worth going to Cruz Azul with guys like Jack Scan and Christian Espinosa and Jeremy Abobasi potentially, looking at nagging little muscular injuries now? And is it worth it going and going all out like Luchi Gonzalez said he would in this game? Or is this kind of already a knockout blow that Portland have dealt? They've defeated them 2-0. They've injured a few of their best players, and they've made it really, really hard for the San Jose Earthquakes to advance at all. Is it even worth it at this point trying to salvage anything from that game against Tigres next weekend?
Yeah, we're going to know midweek because Portland and Tigres are going to play, and that result is going to say a lot as to what scoreline the Earthquakes would need in order to advance. And if Tigres, hands them a big loss and then you go out and beat Tigres, well, maybe, right? But Portland's at home, technically. They are by a technicality, Tigres is actually home for both games, which is a very odd thing by itself. But they're playing
Just
here
a little
in Portland.
CONCACAF spice.
It's another weird CONCACAF thingy for you. So they're playing here at Providence Park, and because of that, it does give the Timbers a bit of an edge. I think they are expecting a sellout, just like the Earthquakes are, and for interesting reasons. In both situations, there is kind of an expectation, I believe, that you're going to get an anti-Tigres crowd that will also show up for the game just for the pleasure of rooting against Tigres, which is a great opportunity if you're the San Jose Earthquakes and you want to convert some fans, maybe not from Liga MX, but also add MLS to what they're watching and come out for Earthquakes games. What better way to do it than a good showing against Tigres in front of Club America fans, in front of Chivas fans? It would be a good way to be able to do that. So I do think there is a bit of like skin in this, even if the Earthquakes don't go forward, because, it's an opportunity to be able to win some fans over. And hey, look, you're not playing another game on turf. So at least you're on grass and, hopefully more injury free. But it is disappointing to hear that it's very clearly Jack Skane will not be available for that game. And with Jamiro Montero not available at all for tonight's game, I think there's a fair question. If I had a second question for Luchi, probably would have asked it. What's going on with Jamiro Montero? Speaking with Earthquakes PR before the game, actually somewhat during the game even, they've been hearing as well that Montero is going to be returning, imminently, and yet he is not here, and he was not in the 20 tonight. So that's concerning. That's concerning that Jamiro Montero looks like he's further away, to returning, particularly when you really could use him in probably what's going to be a physical game against Tigres.
And so then the question, Jamon, is looking ahead to that Tigres game, do you slot Nico Shakiris in there in the starting lineup? We know he started in big games before, but do you opt for him or do you mix it up if you're Luchi Gonzalez? Do you throw Carlos Acapo in the midfield or Miguel Trauco in the midfield where we know they can both play? Do we try to go back to the formation that he was experimenting with at the beginning of the month, a little bit of a lopsided 3-5-2 formation to allow you to get a different look and get all of your best players on the field at once?
I do think that that they lost a bit tonight with going back to the 4-3-3, but there's a reason for that, which I think is just the players that they're going to want out on the pitch. Like if you're trying to put out your best lineup, the 4-3-3 or really a 4-2-3-1, let's be honest, because Jackson Yueill was very clearly in a double pivot tonight. And so I think the issue is, if you just think about it a little bit, you're going to be asking either Cade or you're going to be asking Christian probably to play a wingback, neither of which would really suit either one of them all that strongly. Although I'm not highly against Espinoza as a wingback. The problem is you're just not going to get him forward quite as much. And so that's probably why you're not going to roll out a 3-5-2.
Yeah,
you heard what Luchi said he tried to do in the second half, which is actually what I kind of said he was trying to do in the second half, which was he tried to move Cade central and try to push the back line in a bit the way that Jack Skane was. He didn't say it like Jack Skane was, but that's what he was doing. And so without running out the 3-5-2, he's trying to put some additional pressure, put the second player forward and get a little bit of that more of that too, that seemed to be so effective in the last couple games.
Well, and the other thing that he said, the other adjustment that he made at halftime was trying to get Christian Espinosa posted up on that center back 1v1 higher up the field so he can counterattack and get in behind. And that's the other adjustment we see with this 3-5-2 is getting Christian Espinosa into more dangerous positions. He's definitely not a wingback anymore. I think we've moved past the phase where we can really consider Christian Espinosa a viable option there. He's going to be up top on the left wing or even now drifting more centrally. But the problem here, Jamon, is to me it feels like Luchi Gonzalez is almost running out of options with Jamiro Montero out injured, with Jack Skane out injured. If you're worried about Christian Espinosa's fitness, there's not a lot of room to maneuver, room to experiment with this starting lineup anymore. And it makes me, look at Chris Leach and look at this transfer window, which has been open now for over 2 weeks, and wonder whether any movement is happening there. Because I feel like this was a case study. This game was case study for why the San Jose Earthquakes need another left winger or need another number 10, someone who can come in that second half and raise the level and pick it up from where Jack Skane left off. Because the Quakes didn't have that tonight. It felt like in that second half, they had run out of ideas. They had run out of energy. They didn't know what plan B was. They didn't know what came next, right? They were solid in the first half. I agree with Luchi Gonzalez. They had that chance creation in that first half. But that second half, I wasn't convinced at all. Portland Timbers came out strong, had 3 or 4 chances right at the beginning that they could have easily put away. And San Jose were never able to recover that momentum. They were never able to move the ball forward through the middle. They had a couple of chances where they kind of got lucky in behind, but it didn't really feel like they were able to work the ball up the field in the way that they want to, in the way that Luchi Gonzalez likes to see. And that's concerning because we know that Luchi Gonzalez, his in-game management is usually solid. He's usually able to keep the Earthquakes in games, creating chances, maintaining pressure. But it felt like tonight he kind of was running up against a wall. And I know that's due to injuries on the one hand, but it feels like a new signing in there could completely, kind of change shift the paradigm here for Luchi Gonzalez and, give him a lot more to work with in these second half situations.
Well, and still we're kind of debating here is it, if you get one attacking player, is it more the left wing or is it more, at the 10? And the problem is kind of at the 10 is if everyone's healthy, there's a little bit more of a crowd. But right now, to your point, you got 2 players who are probably your best 2 options as a 10 who are down. Nico Jakiris, who is going to be good, but offers something different, which is not quite what this attack needs. He feels almost duplicative for me for Jackson Ewell, more than he does like his own player right now in terms of like what we're seeing so far at this progression of Nico's career. It's not to say like he can't evolve, into more of a 10 role, but right now he's a little bit more of a distribution, box to box 8 than he is a 10. And you're kind of asking him to play a bit out of position tonight, I felt. So that's a tough ask, for him to come into the game like that. There's, but you also have the production question on the wing, right? And, you want to be able to move Cade Cowell. There's talk from Cade, from Chris Leach, that this might be the opportunity, to move Cade Cowell in this window. Well, this window is closing, and there really hasn't been a strong rumor. There's been maybe some speculation, but not a strong rumor around Cade. And so even if you bring in another player, what does that mean? Now, Cade's going to go to the bench. I think there's some interesting kind of questions around this. That said, some hope is on the horizon. Season ticket holder event this past week, we had some great reporting out of there in our patron Slack from patrons who were in attendance. And they mentioned that, Chris Leach sounded very optimistic. Signings are going to be coming. There will be and I think the specific words were attacking. I'm trying to remember the exact phrase.
Attacking
pieces was the words that were put into the patron Slack. So
that's not a player
for what it's worth.
He said attacking pieces. He didn't say attacking player. That could mean
that's right.
New boots for Jeremy Abosi or new boots for Christian Espinosa or a new haircut or something like that.
That's right. And then tonight I tried to see if I could, get some information, and everyone, the front office will be happy to know is very, very tight-lipped and giving me absolutely nothing whatsoever. But it seems to also kind of a little bit get that indication of attacking pieces. But again, I go back to you've got pieces also. So what happens with those pieces? What happens to Cade Cowell? What happens to Jamiro Montero? What happens to now a blossoming Jack Skane who, hopefully would be back to bring some of that energy? What does that mean? Because you're not taking off Christian Espinosa. You maybe are going to give some competition to Jeremy Abosi. I think that could be really interesting to give us some different look at the 9 and be able to have options at the 9 and see if you can, make a run, because he hasn't scored in a few games. And, he's even, tonight, potentially picked up a bit of a knock. So would I'm just intrigued more than anything else. I'm intrigued about what attacking options is going to mean. But from what I can tell, we can expect moves before the end of the window.
And I think that you're 100% right here to highlight, Jamon, that not only are we watching out for, new additions, but also for the players they're moving out. Because it is pretty clear at this point, they have a few guys on the roster who could be good trading pieces. It's pretty clear that Benji Gacanovic, could have a brighter future at a different club in Major League Soccer and could be a piece to trade to open up some spot. That would make another addition at the left wing make even more sense. You could have, guys like JT Marcinkowski, who's second in goal right now, be traded. You can look at different pieces they can move out in order to make space happen for a trade as well. And, Jamon, you talk about Cade Cowell, potentially moving abroad. I think the solution here is for the Earthquakes front office to start some more leaks. I know leaks were one of the hot topics at the season ticket holder event last night, and the Earthquakes priding themselves in the lack of leaks in regards to transfer rumors. But this feels like a situation where drumming up some business for Cade Cowell could be a sort of mutually beneficial business here.
Yeah, I agree. And again, he did show well in these international tournaments. That's what you wanted. That's why you let him play in these international tournaments. And, Luchi bemoaned not having Cade Cowell for much of the season because of these international tournaments. But he also, said, hey, look, this is what's necessary. This is what's necessary for Cade. And you would think that his confidence got a boost. I thought he, was a big shot in the arm coming off the bench. And you and I can say it till we're blue in the face, but maybe the best role for Cade is to come off the bench, and maybe featuring him as that kind of energy coming off the bench would give a European team a better idea of how they may want to use him. The chance that Cade Cowell is going to walk off the Earthquakes and go straight into a Big Five team and start is like that big, right? He is going to be a bench player. Why not give the opportunity for him to showcase in the best possible way what he looks like coming off the bench? I think the issue with that right now is they're very thin at left wing in terms of production. Benji hasn't been the answer this season that he was last season. Buddha has shown promise for Quakes too, but hasn't really yet been showing it with the first team, at least not this season. He had a little bit last season, but not so far this season. Jack Skane's the only one who's looked pretty good over there, but he's actually been better as a central creator, than he has necessarily as a left winger. So for me, there's just I'd like to see another starter over there, and I'd like to see Cade bring that energy off the bench and see kind of what happens. That's what I would like to see.
I 100% buy that argument for why the Quakes need a left winger. I think you can make a solid argument for why the Quakes need a number 10 as well. Jamie, do you think there's an argument for San Jose bringing in another number 9? Because I've seen a few comments here in the chat that are maybe questioning whether Jeremy Ebobisse can get it done on his own, or whether having another center forward who can come in, give them another option, another look up top, another skill set up top could benefit this team. I think we saw Jeremy Ebobisse get himself in some good spots today, but struggle a little bit with that production in his first touch, let him down a few times, and struggle to really make those chances count. Is having two strikers who, at any given time, one of them can be on form and hot and have the hot hand be helpful for the Quakes. Because right now I think you have seen Jeremy Ebobisse sometimes drift in and out of form, and that can hurt this team that doesn't have a ton of goal scorers in the roster right now.
Yeah, I do think they need another one. And I agree with Freddie. You need a 9 with different characteristics than what Jeremy Ebobisse brings. You need someone who can come on and bring some energy at the end of the game, maybe someone who can be a little bit more physical in the air. Look, Quakes fans are going to pine for somebody, like the players from the 2012 team, right? They're going to look for that magic that those players were able to bring. And you're going to think of, like, we need that classic number 9. I think you've even mentioned that on the show, Alex. So absolutely. Does there need to be somebody as a 9 with different characteristics than Jeremy Ebobisse to give teams a different look, to push them at the end of the games, to bring some energy off the bench? Even if you keep Ebobisse as a starter, the answer is a very clear yes. They need another 9. I don't think there's any question at all about it.
I think the fans agree with you here as well, Jamon. Jamon, the one other open question I have about this starting lineup is that center back spot. Jonathan Mensah, once again, on the bench. Tanner Beeson seems to have reclaimed that starting position. You see him make a huge block there in that second half to keep the game close, but maybe also have some miscommunications with Rodriguez and with Carlos Gruezo in the midfield. And in Portland, we're able to get a lot of balls in zone 14 in dangerous areas and have good chances, high quality chances from there. So it seems that while he makes some good blocks and is good kind of last ditch defending, some of the preventative positioning and communication skills might be lacking a little bit. Jonathan Mensah, would he be an upgrade there? Is there something going on behind the scenes with Jonathan Mensah? Because this is not the trajectory we were expecting his season to take. Given the way he stepped into the starting lineup at the beginning of the season with leadership and with confidence and with poise, it feels weird and jarring to see him completely out of the picture now.
Yeah, it certainly is. And while we're hearing attacking pieces, what you're not hearing in there is, and we're going to need to go out and get another center back, right? So one of these guys has to be the answer. And it's hard to say that they've both made a clear-cut case for themselves, because there have been times when either one of them have looked like the answer, and there have been many times where neither of them look like the answer. And I think the issue is that there's too much of a question mark for me for a team that is now not borderline on the playoffs, but certainly, if they slip further, it's going to be a bit nervy going through the end of the season in terms of playoff position. They're going to need to come out strong, starting with on the road in Vancouver, hoping to be there myself, thanks to our patrons. And they need to come out in Vancouver on August 20th, all, firing on all cylinders, new signings in, hopefully physically fit, ready to go for that first game. And you want to come in against a Vancouver team that's already going to be reeling from losing Julian Gressel. And we'll see if they can make another signing to make that kind of replacement. But he's been one of their best players, if not their best player at times this season. And, the Quakes need to be able to go on the road and start to get some points. So, whatever at this point will give them that energy to be able to go in on August 20th on the road and begin this final stretch. I say home stretch, this final stretch of the season. You want them to be able to do.
Jamon, August 20th is so far away. In between now and August 20th, we get to look forward to the Women's World Cup, watching the U.S. women's team win. We get to look forward to Lionel Messi carrying Inter Miami to a dramatic Leagues Cup, unexpected Leagues Cup victory. There's an entire lifetime of soccer to be played in between now and August 20th. So it feels a little premature to be thinking about that August 20th Vancouver game already. I don't want to think about any more games on artificial turf for a long time. This game has me fed up with the artificial turf situation in Major League Soccer. With that said, Jamon, we're nearing the hour mark now. So before we wrap around to our final thoughts, I want to give a shout out to all the wonderful Quakes Epicenter patrons that we have, and want to recommend anyone, if they like the work we're doing here at the show, if you like the work we're doing online at Quakes Epicenter with all of our articles and social media, then please consider subscribing to the Patreon. That's the reason we're able to have Jamon Moore travel to the game in Portland at Providence Park tonight. That's the reason we're able to have him going up for that Vancouver game.
Also, I had a patron give me a ride, which was fun. We had a lot of fun and got to talk a lot of cool stuff on the way in. So a big shout out to Luchi with Gucci from the
Gucci with Luchi. It's Gucci with
Gucci with
Luchi.
Sorry, Gucci with Luchi. I don't know if he wants.
Luchi with Gucci
don't-
would be
I don't know
very
if he's-
fun. I'd love to see Luchi Gonzalez in some Gucci on the touchline, Jamon.
Yeah, I don't know if he's hiding his real name there, so I won't mention it on the air. But got to ride with him and his partner tonight, and we had a great time here.
And that's what you're getting when you're joining the Quakes Epicenter Patreon, Jamon. It's not
Potential
just
ride with Jamon.
not just that you're able to support the work that we do and make this happen, but also that you're able to join an amazing community of Quakes fans within that patron Slack, up to, I think, 120 plus Quakes fans on there right now. Everyone's saying it's the new Twitter. Why do you need Twitter? Why do you need Spaces? Why do you need Blue Sky? Why do you need Threads when you can just join the Quakes
I have
Epicenter
all of them, but
patron
Slack.
And then on the patron Slack, you can learn everyone's handles as well. You can keep track of everyone in all the new social media platforms that they're on, Jamon. So with that said, I want to circle back now to the final thoughts here, Jamon. What are your big takeaways from this game? What was your Leagues Cup experience, a new competition for the San Jose Earthquakes, a new trophy that they could theoretically win? How far off do you think they are? What year do you think they're able to set their sights on? Is it the 2024 Leagues Cup? Is it the 2025 Leagues Cup? When do you think it's a realistic goal for them?
Well, I think the Quakes have been building through each window. I do want to give Chris Leach credit because I think it's due. If you remember, the last year's window, there were some pretty significant signings, and we might have kind of poo-pooed them a little bit at the time as not being big signings, but all of them have proven to be big signings from that window. You had Enriquez come in, on a loan. You had Acapo, you had Gruezo. Very clearly, each of those three players have had a huge impact. And then in the offseason, you had, Daniel come in. You had, I'm just, help me out here, Alex. Just so my brain's a little bit mush right now. But
did you say Trauco?
Well, Trauco came in the previous window, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm just talking about this past offseason. Oh, Gruezo. How can I forget Gruezo? A designated player come in. I think he's been very key for this team so far this season. And Jonathan Mensah, who was a big spark at the beginning of the season, even if he's fallen off more recently, and coming in a pinch to be able to get a starting quality center back is difficult to do. And certainly, if nothing else, it's brought some competition to the position, and hopefully we can see him come back into form by the playoffs and really help this team in the playoff push, because that defense is going to be critically important, right? So, every window, it feels that there has been more building to where this team needs to be. It wouldn't shock me if 2024 starts to become a good year for a tournament like the Open Cup, to have a bit more of that depth that's necessary to compete or be able to do more in a Leagues Cup. And by the way, the reason they're playing on the road, for people who asked earlier, like, why are they on the road in Portland, is because Portland had a better record last season. So if you want to get a Leagues Cup home game against the MLS club, you need to finish in the top part of the table. It's that simple. So first off, finish off this season strong, get a top 6 spot, and you will get a home game for the next Leagues Cup, and then also the home game against the Liga MX side. And that will set this team up potentially for a run. That's the important thing. Get the home games.
As long as they don't have to play on the road at Providence Park against the Portland Timbers, that's a curse that the Earthquakes have yet to shake off. I don't think they have ever won. Am I correct in saying they have never won a competitive game at Providence Park, Jamon, in a decade now?
They have never won. They are now 0-15-4, I believe it is, at Providence Park all time. It is obviously the worst away stadium for the Earthquakes to play in, and you saw why. The turf tonight, is hated, despised by Quakes fans, and absolutely should be.
Jamon, we probably could have just led with that and wrapped up this conversation in the first 10 minutes here. Earthquakes have historically struggled at Providence Park. Nothing changed about that tonight. And I'm going to be skeptical of this Leagues Cup format if it keeps sending them there. But I agree, Jamon. If they're able to get a top spot, if they're able to secure more home games, play different rivals. I can get that Leagues Cup buy-in, and I'm really, really curious to see next week how that game against Tigres goes, what that atmosphere is like at PayPal Park. And I'm expecting a good one. I'm expecting an intense game in that one. And back on grass, I think the Earthquakes have a better job of putting up a fight for that. The one piece I'm worried about maybe that we didn't talk about, but I want to try to slide in here is that midfield pairing with Carlos Gruezo and Jackson Ewell, because I do think we're seeing them maybe get a little bit tired at this phase of the season, particularly Carlos Gruezo, because Carlos Gruezo has been playing nonstop soccer for essentially 18 months. He's gone straight from playing in Germany through the World Cup, through a Major League Soccer season, and he has not slowed down. And maybe, just maybe, we're starting to see a little bit of fatigue from him. And that's why Portland were able to get so many chances in that zone 14. It's not just an issue with Tanner Beeson and Rodriguez in the backline's communication. It's also an issue with that midfield and with the amount of work that Carlos Gruezo and Jackson Ewell are able to give to this team and with the positioning there that they've had. So with that said, it's a tough loss for the Earthquakes tonight. I think it's made worse by those two injuries to Jack Skane and Christian Espinosa, but maybe not quite a knockout blow. I think they're on the ropes right now, Jamon, but they still have a possibility of advancing to this next round of the Leagues Cup. All eyes will be on that game between Tigres and Portland Wednesday to understand exactly what the situation is for the Earthquakes heading into next Sunday's game. So, Jamon, with that said, it has been a pleasure to join you tonight to talk through this one. Really want to give a shout out to everyone who has stuck around with us for this one and who's been contributing to this conversation with your comments in the comments section. We appreciate all of you, and we will see you next time after the San Jose Earthquakes Leagues Cup game against Tigres.
Have a good night, everyone.